This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Springboard Foundation is a non-profit, non-government organization established in the Philippines since 2002 as a resource mobilization, fund manager, technical advisor, and project management foundation set up to improve the lives of Filipino children by ensuring their rights are promoted. Environment is healthy for them to thrive, and their future is bright. The Springboard Foundation's vision: healthy, well-educated, and well-rounded Filipino children. The Springboard Foundation's mission: raise fund for healthy, nurturing environments for children, design, manage, and supervise development projects, and strengthen programs of local NGOs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Global Village. I'm Buddy Kunanan. Now, you know, folks, on this show, we take you around the world, you visit amazing places, and meet interesting people. We also talk about issues and topics that impact the global community. Now, tonight on Global Village, it's all about charity and the wonderful work that an amazing organization in the Philippines called Springboard Foundation has been doing for 16 years in the areas of community development and helping and improving the lives of the underprivileged. And joining me is the founding chairman of Springboard Foundation, good friend, Annette Helbig.
Good evening, Betty.
Good
Thank you so much for
evening.
inviting me to your show.
No, thanks for coming. And you know, I'm a big fan of Springboard Foundation and the tremendous work you're doing, and big supporter. And I want to thank also our common friend Sarah McLeod for arranging, our
Yes.
meeting. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show today to share the news of what your amazing organization is doing to help the Philippines and Filipinos. Okay, now let's talk about you first, Annette. You're practically Filipina.
I am.
You've been here a long time.
Matagal na dito siya.
Wow, bravo, bravo. Okay, and you've been here, I understand, over 30 years.
Yeah, 33 years.
What brought you to the Philippines?
It was business. My husband was invited to set up a company, a production company for Germany to produce dental prosthetics, because he heard about the artistic talent of the Filipinos, that they spoke English, so communication was good. And so we set out to do it. We didn't really know what we were doing. I think at the time I was just 20 years old, and he came home one day and said, "We're moving to the Philippines." And I'm like, "Why?" So we arrived here, yeah, and we fell in love with the country.
It must have been a completely different experience. Was it your first time in Asia when you came over?
Yes.
And what were your impressions when you first came to this country?
Well, at the time, we didn't travel much. We didn't have the internet, so you really didn't know what to expect. You could hear people talk, so it was very limited, the information. What struck me most was the amount of people. You know, we
Yes,
arrived at the
yes.
airport. It was still the same, you know, international airport. And when we came out, the humidity just went like, whoo!
An assault on the senses and the mass of
The
humanity.
mass of humanity, the mass of people. But very, very friendly. Just there were so many of them in one spot. I grew
Yes.
up in a small village, 500 people, so
Definitely shocking.
it was a little overwhelming.
What about the socio-economic conditions here in the Philippines compared to Germany, obviously first world country? How did that affect you as a young girl coming here in your 20s, you know, newly married and all that?
Yeah, I guess you can imagine, you know, in Germany we don't really see dire poverty. Yes, there are people who don't have a lot of money. There are people who struggle to make ends meet. But most of the time, unless they drop out of the system, there is a safety net that you will be taken care of. You can always go to the hospital. You know, you have your health care that will catch you if you can't pay. If you can't pay, they'll make you pay, of course.
Yes,
you know, everybody
yes.
has to have insurance.
Yes.
I like the system. But when I came here, it was kind of the second time that I saw people living in dire poverty. And yes, it affected me because when I came, I already had a little baby. My little daughter, Nadia, was only 9 months old. I think I was pretty brave, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, and my heart went out to the people. And I
Yes.
thought if I could just do something to, you know, to help, because people weren't, you don't actually see that they're suffering, because when you go in, they're all smiling, they're singing, they're holding their babies.
That's a Filipino for you.
Yeah.
The national character.
Incredible, right? We can
Yes.
all learn from that the resilience.
Very glass half empty.
Yes.
Half empty.
Half full, I
Half full,
think.
half full, yeah. Half empty. I always get that confused. Half full. All right.
Half full.
Now,
Very much.
what led you to establishing this foundation? Was it because of this experience coming here and seeing the need, the societal need around you?
Yes, it was. It's quite easy to help. In a way, when you see something, there's so much that you could do. But what struck me was that a lot of people don't know where you can really help well. And to make sure that if it's larger donations, I mean, if you see somebody who needs help, you help. But when you start reaching out to a bigger community and bigger projects, you want to make sure that the donations and the investment is safe.
Absolutely.
Right? And for that, I felt I needed a legal entity. So after, it was probably about 17 years where I would help anyways, I decided that there was the need to put up a foundation so that I can legalize it and safeguard.
Okay, so you're really involved because, as I mentioned, Springboard Foundation has been a legal entity,
Yes.
actively operating for 16 years,
Yeah.
more or less, and you've been here over 30 years. So you were really involved in this in a private capacity before
Yeah.
before jumping in and really establishing a legal entity.
Absolutely. Before that, you know, I used to go and visit orphanages, help them, secure donations for them, and many different things. But
Yes.
eventually I found that I want to make sure that, you know, I choose the right projects and I can involve other people.
Yes, and you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of people, a lot of companies that want to help and give something back to society.
Yes.
And then you hit the nail on the head when you said a lot of these people or entities don't know really where to put the money. They might not trust the recipient or may not trust the competence of the receiving party to really carry out the task and make sure that their money is being well spent, which they're after all accountable for to their, stakeholders.
Oh, I agree,
Yes.
because I think if a donation is received and it is not handled well, whether it's because of lack of knowledge or sometimes also it's purely, they want to use it in a different way. It's terrible because somebody has given you trust. So
Absolutely.
you've become a trustee of that donation, and you have to make sure it's used right, that you have to look at it from a business point of view where you get the most out of
Absolutely.
the donations given. So for us,
Absolutely.
it's never a budget. For us, it's always we are kind of the guardians, right?
Very good.
Who want to make sure that this money is well spent. And now we have the tools to go and investigate. We really look at the organizations we work with, because we don't do actually the work directly, we work with local organizations.
Yes.
So we would just make sure that they are transparent, accountable. We do small projects, we see how they work. And once we see that they are trustworthy, then we promote their work.
Well, a lot of pressure as well on your foundation and responsibility because, as you said, it's about trust, and they view your foundation with a lot of trust. They obviously, give a lot of trust and belief to what your capability and your integrity, and so it's really paramount that you really choose to make sure that their resources are going to the right place.
Exactly, and a lot of people don't have a lot of time, right? So what we do for them is we select organizations that we feel are doing a very good job and very trustworthy. But then we give back all the reports because people would like to see what happens.
Of course.
They want to see pictures, they want to see videos, they want to, and we do that for them. So it's as easy as giving the money to us, saying like, okay, I want something in education or health, and then we do the project, and then we feed all the information back on how the money was used. And I think that's important, that a person will see the impact that they make.
For sure, and as I said, a lot of these people also have people that they answer to, the stakeholders. So it's a chain. So they, it's a chain that you really have to keep transparent and accountable. And I think that your service is amazing because, as you mentioned, not a lot of people don't have the time or the wherewithal or the competence to find out really to research and really look at the best place to put their money for charitable purposes.
Yes, and sometimes they don't stay in the country a long time. So we work with a lot of expatriates, also with the schools and communities, the chambers. We work with clubs, and a lot of people are transient, right? They come for like 2 or 3 years. And
the expat community.
Yes. And so having us there as a permanent really helps them, to make sure to trust that it will last a long time.
Annette, you've come a long way since you started 16 years ago, and you're very established now. A lot of companies put their trust in you and your foundation. What was it like to start in the beginning when you first started, this legal entity, and you said, okay, this is us, Springboard Foundation? Was it easy? What were the challenges you had to overcome?
In those days, it was easier than it is now.
Really?
Yes, it was easier than it is now, and that simply because cases have come to the public where there was misuse, where foundations were used in, to enrich the people, and that's tragic because organizations that really want to do good are now really scrutinized. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be accountable; we should. But obviously now it becomes harder to do it because you have to report to so many agencies, and though we want to do it, but that takes funds. You need somebody to collect all the material and prepare it. And people don't want to spend the money on the administration of an organization, and neither do we somehow. But
but it's a necessary evil.
It's a necessary evil, and we put everything onto the web. If you look at the Springboard Foundation website, so you look Springboard Foundation Philippines, you can actually see our annual reports. We have externally audited annual reports, which are all on our website.
On top of your website, I'm very impressed because I visited the website recently and I saw your footprint. And I thought, wow, you have a lot of beneficiaries. This must be a big organization. How big is Springboard Foundation to manage all these projects and multiple areas, not just in education, but a lot of different fields?
Yeah, that's kind of magical.
It's got to be.
Yes, really, we are only a group of, we have 6 in our board of directors, and then in the office, we are also maybe between 5 to 6 people. So yes, I think we have a lot of angels that help us. Very
good, very good. And another striking thing about your website is that it jumped out. It said that only 5% is used. It was very clear. And so I get you where you say that you really have to put it out there. That for the donors to see that that great majority, practically all the money really does go to the projects, but there are really administrative costs to running a foundation, and that there's no way of getting around that.
Yes, there isn't. And again, like when you look at the annual reports, you can actually see that this is true and correct, right? That our administrative cost is so low. As you grow bigger, I think the administration part will go a little bigger as well, because
inevitable.
Yes, inevitable.
In
and
any
even percentage, right? Unless you get really gigantic and you can keep the overhead low. but I think that will grow. At this point, we are actually really pleased that we are able to do all this with less than 5% admin costs.
No, very good, very good. Bravo, bravo. Let's talk about how you choose, because you said it's a matching. What you do is really a matching
Yes.
between donor and beneficiary. And obviously there has to be a certain synergy for this to work. How do you choose the beneficiaries, and how do you vet the two parties to make sure there's a good fit?
Yeah. So one thing is people know about us now, organizations know about us, and so they talk to each other. They say like, oh, if you need any money, talk to Springboard Foundation, see if they can help. And then we also go and investigate. We ask all their papers, their registrations. We look at their financial reports. We look at their reporting. Then we also look at the project itself. Does the project make sense? Right? Is it sustainable? Does it fit into the community? And then we start a small project with them, and we see how it goes.
Okay.
Right? How is the reporting?
Like a pilot?
Yeah,
again?
like a pilot project. Before we do anything larger. So we really examine them down, to the last corners, we hope, and we make sure that they are a reputable organization.
Yes.
Because passion is one thing. Many people are passionate about what they're doing, but you still need to do it right.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. If you're going to do something worthwhile, do it right. Do it
Yes.
properly. Do it the best way you can. Has there ever been a case where you had to turn away potential donors because there wasn't, the fit just wasn't there, or does it happen?
But donors is easier because if they choose, sometimes we have donors and they say like, can you fund this? Can we run it through you to make sure that the funds are well spent? And also sometimes they want to spend it in tranches.
Yes.
So we
yes.
started, we sent back a report, and then they give us the next tranche of support. So if we find that their project might not be as suitable for the community as they think, then we try and improve the project, or we try to suggest something that fits. So that's easier. On the other side, when we receive grant applications for us, we don't have the funds to support them. Like we have an organization who is the only organization in Naga that helps the hearing impaired,
Okay, oh.
the deaf, and that's
Yeah.
that's a very vulnerable group. And they want to enlarge their school because there's nobody else on the entire island. And they say like, we need 10 million pesos to build a school. And we see that it's valid,
Yes.
it's really needed. But now we have to go and promote it. So we send it out. We tell people like, if you want to do something, look here. If your passion is helping the hearing impaired and child protection, because like I said, they're very vulnerable, then this is something you can do. So that is where our problem lies, is if we receive grant applications and we don't have the funding, we have to literally
Yes.
go out
and find it.
help Find
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where does the majority of support for Springboard Foundation come from? Does it come from the European community? Are there local? Is there a lot of local involvement as well in the donor side?
In terms of to the companies, it's mostly multinational or international companies that, or it's also a lot of the chambers. But a lot of local community is involved as well. And oftentimes also behind the scenes, because it will always be somebody from the Philippines who heads the CSR department,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
they have to also believe in the project.
Are you looking to expanding to maybe tapping donors, local-based donors? Because there's a lot of demand for this kind of service, because not every company, especially the SMEs, they don't really have a CSR department. So, but they want to do something, and they want to give back, but they just don't know how to do it.
Right, absolutely. We would really welcome that. Anybody who is interested to help out, that's what we're set up for. We wanted to create funding simply because people feel like, oh, they know how to do it, and they will help us do it right. So then funding which normally wouldn't flow actually comes, and that really helps the people.
Very good, very good. Annette, we have to pause for a break. When we come back, someone who's a product of one of your programs is going to join us. He actually works for Springboard Foundation. We're also going to talk about your pillars in education, nutrition, health, community development, relief operations, child protection, long list.
I know.
But hold your breath. We're
I
going to
know.
talk about all of that when we come back. So guys, stick around because more of Springboard Foundation when Global Village returns. Welcome back to Global Village. Our topic tonight is all about charity with Springboard Foundation. And joining me still is the founding chairperson and head of Springboard Foundation, Annette Helbig, and her communication assistant, Yvette Abad, who is also a product of the education track of Springboard Foundation. Now, before we jump to Yvette, let's talk about that video that we've been showing. We showed one before we came on the first segment, and now again. Very interesting and very diverse set of activities. So it just goes to show, that you guys are really, really very, very busy.
Yes, we are. We are very busy. And I think, when you have children, they need a few things. They need good health, they need food, they need good education, they need to be in a good community, they have to have access to facilities that help them for, their spiritual needs, for their education, but also really to keep them healthy. And that's why we get involved in all of this, because we think Filipino children should have the same.
Yes, and looking at your brochure, which is on the website as well, these are your pillars, really.
Yes.
Your core, the core areas that the Springboard Foundation has committed to helping: education, nutrition, health, community development, relief operations, and child protection. Top of the list, education. And tell us a bit quickly before we jump to Yvette about the scholarship programs that you're helping to carry out.
So scholarship is one of our programs for education, because we believe once children have education, especially when they can also go to university and colleges, the cycle of poverty is broken forever.
Absolutely.
For them, for their families, for their children. That's the most dignified way to help them out of poverty. So scholarship is a big thing for us, and we have various organizations and schools we work with, and we have almost 500 scholars this year in our program.
Just this year?
Just this year.
How many have gone through the Springboard Foundation
I have to actually
scholarship?
count them, because we started this in 2004 with ABC Foundation, which is where Yvette was a scholar. And I should really count them. I haven't really counted them. But we also help daycare centers. We even set up daycare centers, because we found if we can prepare the children for school so that they come in at a high level, they stay. It worked. 1 year of intervention made all the difference to them.
Because the dropout rate in this
so
country
high.
it's tragic.
Yeah,
it's
tragic.
so bad.
Then we give school supplies or shoes, or we help them stay in school as well. Each year we have more than 5,000 school children that receive help, and the teachers as well. So we have companies that invest in schools, putting computer labs or help them renovate it. So education is a big thing for us.
I think I'm a firm believer in education. It's the ultimate empowerment.
It is.
Because everything follows after education. It gives you the skills, gives you the confidence, the power to change your life.
Absolutely.
And in this case with Yvette, let's talk about you. Now, you are now working with Springboard Foundation as a communication assistant. But you're also a very proud product of the scholarship programs. Tell us a bit about your experience going through the scholarship program.
Well, it started when I got passed in the examination in my school way back in high school. So my school is Siena College, Taytay. So it's the partner of Springboard Foundation. So yeah, the history.
Yes, and so you had, how long were you in this program for? I mean, was it until college?
Yes,
and
until
and all that?
college.
And you finished I understand you finished from STI.
Yeah, STI College. I took AB Communication Arts.
Yes.
So yeah, I just graduated last May.
Oh, congratulations. How has this, changed your life and your family? I mean, this is an incredible opportunity. I'm so happy for you, and thank you to Springboard Foundation, of course, Annette, for making stories like this happen.
Yeah, I'm so lucky because there are many scholars, but I'm one of the chosen one to be part of the Springboard Foundation to help the other children and to give back also to them.
How did you get involved now? So you graduated through the kindness of Springboard and its partners and stakeholders. How did you get back to Springboard Foundation, this time in another capacity, as an active participant in working for the foundation and its goals?
I got to meet the donors, the supporters, and I'm also one of the who arranges the meet and greet with the sponsors and the scholars, like that. So yeah, it's really nice to have that kind of event wherein you will see the connection between the sponsor and the scholars, the beneficiaries of Springboard Foundation.
But how do you feel now being able to give back? Not just, not just, I mean, giving back is, in a sense, doing well for yourself. You've been blessed and now you do well and become a successful professional, but actually being part of the organization that made it happen for you. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's really fulfilling, and it's really nice to be in the foundation that really helps the children.
Very good.
To
very good.
lift the children out of poverty.
Very good. And I understand she is, because you guys at the foundation need all the help you can get, especially with the administrative part of it.
Yes.
And I understand that Yvette, you and Yvette are working on a project now. It's now almost the end of November, and Christmas is around the corner.
Yeah.
And you have a project that, like a fundraising project
Yeah.
for Springboard Foundation.
Yeah, we have the Christmas Project 2018. It's a Christmas shoe boxes and Christmas hampers. So shoe boxes is for the kids, wherein we will be given the children hygiene kits, toys, like that. And for the Christmas hampers, Noche Buena packages for the family, like that.
Very good. I think we have your poster now, which we're going to air. Here it is. And as you can see, Annette, maybe you can walk us through the different costings and what people can expect from participating in this drive.
Yes, let me just give you quickly the reason why we do this.
Sure.
Because as I have children, I find Christmas is very important, and I found in the Philippines, Christmas is like the most important holiday. And families get together, they have food, and they share presents, and they sing songs, and it's just a beautiful celebration here. And when you go into areas where there is severe poverty, it's impossible, because they're barely able to feed their children. There is no food for Christmas, and there aren't any presents, and it broke my heart to see that this is happening. If I imagine myself for Christmas and I can't feed my kids, it will break my heart. So this might not be the most sustainable project, but I think it's important that children for Christmas have this time where they can celebrate with their families. It gives them a break from poverty.
Absolutely.
Poverty is hardship, a lot of hardship. So we started this. Actually, Sarah was the initiator of the Christmas hamper, the food, and then we added the presents. And so for just 500 pesos, you can sponsor a gift box or a hamper, which is filled with Christmas food, what we know that they will enjoy for Christmas. And then, it's just a multiplier of that. If you want to give us, 100 presents, 50,000, right? That would be 50,000 pesos if my math skills are correct. So we have companies that have budgets for Christmas, and instead of buying presents for their corporate clients, which they do every year, in lieu of presents, they actually give the money to Springboard Foundation, and then they give a card to their clients saying that in your name we have made a
That's
donation
nice.
that a Filipino family can eat for Christmas, and
That's
the children
nice.
have
Wow.
presents. Right?
What
So-
corporate wouldn't want that? Right?
right? Is it?
Yeah,
It's quite easy, and then
beautiful.
it's
a beautiful
a
thing.
feel good. And I think
Absolutely.
we should help other people to a good Christmas, right?
Yes.
So-
Where do we stand today, Yvette, with the drive? I mean, how many have you contacted? A lot of corporates to participate in this.
There are a lot of companies who are calling the office. So yeah, they were organizing some Christmas party with the children, like that. So also a bonding moment with them and
Yes.
also with the children.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Sometimes they like to come and join the gift giving, right? So we facilitate that as well. We find a place.
Is this the first kind of project like this, Christmas project like this that you've carried out or are carrying
No,
out?
we've done it for a few years now, and it's been growing every year because I think people like doing it. And you could do it also as a present, even as a family, to say like, why don't we just help also another Filipino family to a good meal, or help kids to have a presence. I think also Filipinos, they see that, right? They can feel that this would be good.
Yes.
So it's growing. We get a lot more support. We get more companies to come in, but we're still in the beginning stages of this, so we're still looking for companies who would say, like, you know, this is it for this Christmas. That's what we want to do. Some companies, instead of sending cards, they just send them by email.
Yes.
And then the savings of mailing and buying the cards, they give to us.
Very good.
Right?
Very
So there's
good.
so many options how you can help, right?
Yeah, yeah. Which communities are you targeting for this to benefit from this Christmas project?
Well, we work with Payatas and Montalban. We have areas in Binyan. There are areas in Tondo and on the, you know, near the North Harbor. Even Malibay, we have organizations that we have some that we work with throughout the years, and we know the communities they work with. So we distribute it mainly in Metro Manila for this one.
Yes.
Because we don't work just in Metro Manila. We have many projects all over the Philippines.
No, I've seen it. I mean, just the videos that we've been showing, it seems like you're at the beachfront, you're in coastal communities, you're in a dump site, you're in schools. As I said, your footprint is pretty impressive.
Well, I think whatever comes up, what comes our way, sometimes I think, you know, there have to be some angels that help, you know, and if
Definitely.
something comes your way, you just do it.
Definitely, and that's why
And
I asked Yvette about the power. We talked about the power of giving, and so, you know, that's why I asked you earlier, Yvette, what are your feelings now? Because, you know, I think that is one of the most special feelings one can
Yeah.
have. Giving back,
Giving back.
even better than receiving.
Yeah, it's really nice and fulfilling on my part to give back to the children, also on Springboard Foundation, with the way that they help me to achieve my dreams and to finish my studies.
Yes, and inspiring for kids to see her.
Yeah.
Is there any interface between Yvette, your role models for scholars?
Yeah, you would be surprised that we, like kids react very strongly. They have that sense of injustice, right? And a lot of children want to do something. And sometimes I think the best thing you can do as a parent is allow your children to do something good. Let them feel that, you know, what it means to change somebody's life, even if it's just for a day.
Absolutely, I totally
You know,
agree.
it's so important for children to see that they have the power. And we have school children who support other school children just by baking cookies and selling the cookies.
Yes.
It's wonderful to
I
see.
wish
It's
that more parents
inspiring.
would do this, because it makes for better children and for better adults later on.
For sure. I think empathy is one of the most important traits that we need to develop in children.
Yes, and you know, a lot of need in this world for empathy at the moment, and the good season, Christmas season, a good
There
time
you
to
go.
remember
Yes.
what empathy is all about. Wouldn't you say?
I absolutely agree. This is the
Right,
season
Yvette?
for it.
Empathy, Christmas is the season for empathy.
Yeah.
Time to look out and think about others
Yeah,
instead of
and for
ourselves.
sharing. you know.
Absolutely. Very inspiring. We have to pause for another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the other pillars in your dossier, in your brochure. And we're also going to talk about the other projects you have in store for 2019 and beyond for Springboard Foundation.
That's wonderful. Thank you, buddy.
Very good. So guys, stick around because more of charity and Springboard Foundation when Global Village returns.
Melchor Demandante was successfully operated last April 8, 2015, thanks to the help of the Springboard Foundation. This is Melchor before his operation. He and his mother Amparo come from Cagbalete Island in Mauban. Now Melchor starts a new life.
Maraming salamat po sa Springboard Foundation.
Maraming pong salamat.
Welcome back to Global Village. Tonight's topic is Springboard Foundation, all about charity tonight because Christmas just around the corner. Time to be giving and to show empathy for our fellow man. Joining us still is Annette Elbig, and she's the chairperson, founder of Springboard Foundation, and Yvette Abad, Springboard Foundation's former scholar, now works as communication assistant for the organization. Welcome back, Annette and Yvette. So, Annette, again, another interesting video we showed, which is an example, again, of how diverse the activities that you guys have. And this is also related to education, but this time with school supplies.
Yes, every beginning of the school year, we raise money to give school bags filled with supplies to children and also supplies for the teachers because they oftentimes don't have enough, even with just bond paper, staplers. So we do this every year just to, again, keep children in school, but also make learning fun. I think it's important that learning is fun. I enjoyed my school time.
It should be. I
Yes.
mean, because if it's not fun, then it's a chore, and then you don't learn as well,
Yeah,
and you don't stay in school.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're so proud when they go with their little backpacks. We put even little pieces on the back so you can see them at night, you know, the glow in the dark.
Oh, okay.
So that when they walk in the rain, so that they're safer, I think, yeah. It's
Who is the
important.
partner of Springboard for this project? I understand that it's an interesting foundation as well.
Well, we have many partners who donate and we have many partners who distribute. But
Yes.
at 5,000, right, so you can actually extend it to many. One of them that we really like working with is called GoShare. And it's a foundation with a lot of military personnel. They go out and they help in the most remote areas. Like we've been to Benham Rise, we've been to
Wow.
Calayan Islands. We've been
Really?
we've been to them with them, and you really help people who have never seen anyone. I remember the last one that my colleague went along with because they sometimes fly out with military helicopters, so it's very exciting
What an
for us
experience.
as well.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, and they invite other organizations to join. They do medical missions, and she said like these people had never seen anybody come to help. They were over the moon that somebody would come and help them. So yeah. It's a great organization to work with.
Yeah, so I mean, and the places you've been to, as you mentioned, Calayan Islands,
Yes,
and
yeah,
Benham Rise.
we gave them
You're one
water
of-
filtration systems there because they really had no fresh water.
Yes,
So
you're one of the very few people in this country who've been to those places, and very fortunate. Those are a couple on my bucket list. Okay, let's talk about not much time left, but you've got 6 pillars. Let's talk about nutrition. Why is that number 2? On your in your scale?
yeah, I think I'm very much for preventative health care. You want to keep your children healthy, and I find in the Philippines there's not enough knowledge about good nutrition in the schools among the children, and sometimes there really isn't no food. And in terms of brain development, you need that. So from daycare centers onwards, we try and help with food supplements, but also education on how to choose the right food. So we had seminars for parents on urban gardening, so they can grow their own vegetables.
Wow, okay.
Like you said, we do a lot, right?
Yes. Urban
Hygiene.
gardening. Oh
Yes.
my, look at that.
So nutrition is important, and yeah, we have programs in that. In terms of health, we have renovated a lot of government hospitals, especially the neonatal intensive care units and the units for children. Some of them we have done like all the children's wards because we found that children recover better. In the neonatal intensive care units, the doctors told us the
Yes.
mortality rate dropped by 40%.
Wow,
After
okay.
we renovated
Very
it.
good, very
so we
good.
put in really bright lights, proper electricity and all. So it's magical, the transformation. And the doctors after that and the nurses can work better. And it gives confidence to the parents, which, the children feel, so it's been wonderful. And companies also like to sponsor this kind of work. Because, when you say I renovated a ward for children in the Philippines,
I mean, that's
good, right?
absolutely, yes.
And it's
yes.
wonderful. It works for everyone.
Yes, and
So,
on your, yes, continue please.
So I have to do this one fast, right? Because we have a lot. So also medical
Not too fast though, but it's okay. We have a little bit of time, sure.
Yeah, so medical equipment as well, that we give life-saving equipment to the hospitals, which they often lack. Some of the most basic. Community development, we have done a lot of drilling of wells.
Drilling of wells.
Wells, yes, because
Oh, okay.
in some areas they just don't have clean water,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So we have done yeah, drilling of wells. But then we also look at, is there a need for school, daycare centers? We've built 6 daycare centers in Leyte with an organization. They were fabulous. They just built them beautiful, just beautiful. It was a German also who just made sure everything is by standard, right? So we loved working with them. It's Kinderhilfe Philippines.
Okay.
Fantastic. Relief operations, we all know that we need relief operations constantly because
We're in a
unfortunately,
disaster zone here in this country.
the Philippines is just
Unfortunately.
hit by so many that it's unbelievable. And if you have no money and no savings, it just takes the bottom out from under your feet. So we've done rebuilding of homes, schools, but we also go in immediately, like when the typhoon in Leyte, right,
Haiyan.
happened, Haiyan, when
Yes.
Haiyan happened. We were there we were one of the first organizations there distributing tons of rice and food. Because again, we were lucky that through the network that we have, we got onto the first plane that landed there. And with all our equipment and with all our things. And again, water filtration systems, you know, there's so much. So relief operations are important because it also keeps children safe, which brings me to child protection. That's my last one here, right? So child protection is so important because we don't want them to be vulnerable. This, for me, my biggest fear for my children would be that they would, you know, they would be opposed to any kind of force, that they would be hurt, that I couldn't protect them. And I think for Filipinos that's important too. We want these children to be protected. So we help organizations that look after children that unfortunately have suffered abuse. But for one is, again, prevention. I prefer working on prevention of all this. There's an organization, it's lovely. It's the Justice Munoz Foundation.
Okay.
She was the first Chief Justice in the Philippines. Her granddaughter continues the foundation to help children testify. It's really hard when you have suffered abuse to actually testify. They're scared of the police. They're scared of the judges. And not because they have bad experience, but it's just, you know, those are powerful people.
That is
Scary.
an amazing project, huh?
Yes, and they do mock-up setups where they see what it's going to be like when they testify. Because I feel if the offender is put to justice, will teach everybody in the community.
Absolutely,
it's
yes.
not tolerated.
Yes, and I think it's that one in particular. I think is a wonderful project because a lot of it is unreported because of the stigma, because of fear. But if you have cases like this where people are brought to justice, then it goes a long way in really preventing and dissuading people from doing these.
Yes, and then of course you have, actually for them we're looking for funding. This is one of the organizations where we look for funding, and it's really not a lot. I think it's less than 150,000 pesos to cover a city where the children can come and join this, this workshop so that they have the courage to testify.
How do you plan how do you plan all this out? Because, I'm very impressed and amazed at the scope of what your foundation covers. It's very creative, it's very think outside the box in a way, and it's something that a lot of people have never even thought about doing. Like, I help a lot of charities, but this thing with the, empowering and making sure that people are able to testify and things like that, children who are abused, and this is something that is overlooked.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I come from Germany, which is where, people like to follow the rules. But also, if you don't follow the rules, there's pretty severe punishment, right? So we know we can't. That's
the key to have order. There's got to be consequences and accountability.
I agree. It's very important that people know this is acceptable and this is not. And if they can get away with doing things that we know are not acceptable, that threaten the very future of a country, our children, that threaten our children.
It's not going to stop. It's going to keep going on and on.
It's not going to stop. So we need to they need to see that it's not okay. So this is why this is a very important part of our work. And that covered everything. See, it isn't so hard.
How do you women do it, huh? Super women. Just hearing you rattle it off, everything is boom, boom, boom. I was, just overwhelmed really by the amount of work, good work that your foundation does. And I have to say, it does require a lot of energy and commitment and time. Hats off to you ladies for doing it.
But I always feel like if you put into a situation, you'll just go ahead and do it. If you have a heart, right? And there is pleasure in giving. And it gives a good example. And I know that my children are proud of me for what I'm doing. And that's so important to me. That my children see that, I do a good job, and I reach out and I help. And I think it will make them better as well,
Absolutely.
because they will have that same desire that in their life they will be able to help people.
To give them that gift of knowing the power of giving, the beauty of giving, I think
Absolutely.
that is a game changer for children right there.
For any person.
For any person.
For
yeah.
any person, but
Absolutely.
for children in particular,
Yeah.
because if they learn that as a child, this will never stop. They will live their life and they will look around
Good
and
point.
they'll be aware.
Good
And
point.
if they can help, they will.
Okay, talking about help, a few minutes to close. How can people help Springboard Foundation? Let's say people watching now and they're inspired, I'm sure they are, about your story and your work. How can they get involved?
Well, you know, if you look online for Springboard Foundation, which is our name, Springboard Foundation Philippines, if you don't put Philippines, you'll end up in Chicago. If you want to help the Philippines, add Philippines to it. And, you know, we need financial donations in order to do our job. Even for the Christmas hampers, we can have people pack their own, but we can get it at wholesale price, and it makes it logistically easier if we have a budget. So yes, get in touch with us if you're interested to support any of the projects. Tell us what budget you have. If you have a company that wants to do CSR and wants to make a difference, you just go online, send us an email, and tell us if you want to get involved. It's a pleasure to help. I promise you it will change your life.
Bravo, bravo. Okay, last message, Yvette. Anything to tell our viewers, maybe inspire them to reach for the stars and be good people and successful like you.
Yeah, I hope I got to inspire a lot of people, and also Springboard Foundation, and it's also the time for empathy and forgiving this Christmas.
Very well said. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on Global Village. I for one, am really overwhelmed and really, again, I had an idea of what Springboard Foundation was, but until I spoke to you ladies about it and really went in depth to find about projects, now, I mean, my admiration for you and your work is just doubled, tripled even. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We couldn't do it without people like you who encourage us and who promote the work we're doing.
And anytime you have any projects that you want to promote, please do feel free to come to GNN, to Global Village. We'll give you all the media mileage we can give.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I really
much.
appreciate it.
God bless you. God
Wonderful.
bless you.
Thank you.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's talk on charity and Springboard Foundation. Don't forget, they have a Christmas drive coming, and please do participate for corporates and for individuals who want to give back this Christmas. Contact Springboard Foundation. Join us again next week here in Global Village, and let us take you around the world. Till next Tuesday, you all have a good evening.